Welcome. My name is Drew Richardson, and I'm here to introduce Kaleb, Gideon, Burris, who's going to talk to us about the actor's instrument, or instruments, and how the mind and body might not be as separate as we think.
Thank you, Drew. Hello, I'm an actor. And unlike other forms of art, like an instrumentalist, say a violinist, they have their violin that they work on and they get proficient at and continuously, do music. But for an actor, I have my body and my mind. So my body, represented as the violin, I like crosses, apologies for that, then my mind is a drum. The thing about acting is you have to play both instruments equally well at the same time. So, can everybody raise their hand? Now put it down. Now think about how it feels to raise your hand. And raise your hand. Now put it down. Now think about and fully embody raising your hand without moving your hand. Go. This kind of connection between the mind, the imagination, and the body, the physical body, come together to create something that the actors like to call the inner body. This is our instrument. At Ohio University, there was a study done for people who wanted to work out without, moving, because that's the best thing in the world, right? So what they did was they took two groups of people. One did nothing, while the other group, for 11 minutes a day, for 5 days, for 4 weeks, would wrap their wrists and imagine, while sitting or doing whatever, but focusing on simply how they would work out. Spending this much time over the period of 4 weeks, those specific people gained twice as much muscle mass as the other group that did nothing. Duh. But the fact of this is, if you take your imagination, it will apply to your body whether you try to make it a body activity or not. So what you just did, I want you to take your hand out and then grasp it softly as if you were holding a dumbbell. Why not just do the exercise they did? Now I want you to lift it as if you lifted a weight. Now imagine and calmly tense your muscles as if you were holding a heavier weight. Now imagine lifting that weight without moving your hands. Do you feel how your muscles are already cooperating with your imagination to accomplish without accomplishing what you were trying to do? This is applicable for theater because in theater we have to portray something while doing another thing, such as lines or specific blocking, but we need an emotion to hang on to so that the audience can understand how we are feeling about the situation in itself. I'm going to use a resource of a fictional novel called Ranger's Apprentice. Book 4, Chapter 14. It describes a ranger being behind a tree, and there is a target on the other side of the tree which he had seen once. And so what he does is he pictures again in the dark figure against the light background of the snow behind him. In his mind's eye, he settles his breath and calms himself, and then imagines the arrow that he is about to fire into the person, because war, whatever. But this is what he does. He simply imagines turning the corner, pulling back, pushing the bow, releasing, and coming back in a fluid motion that his imagination is applying. This is only one way to use this method. archetypal gestures are things you can do physically to entice an emotion that's happening. So if I was to lift something up, I would go. If you all felt slightly like you wanted to also do what I was doing, that's a nice reflective thing that the brain has. So if you practice doing this, lifting up, you can then take away the physical and simply doing this with other things such as pushing, and then pulling. You can always take away the action and still imagine yourself pulling. You, as an audience, are starting to react just like an audience reacts to a play. This is what actors do, so they don't have to physically do anything or tell you what they feel, which is always nice. How this is done is by word application. Finding a movement that supports how you want to feel, and then finding a word to apply to that motion will enhance what you want to do, how you want to do it, and how you want the other person to receive it. Going back to the story, also by John Flanagan. I forgot that part, sorry. So we just found out that he imagined, in this quote, he pictures it over and over again until it seems to be a part of him, a natural extension of his own being, almost in a trance-like state, stepping out into the clearing, aiming and shooting at a memory. Keeping that in his head, repeating it multiple times in his head, he was able to fluidly turn the corner and fire the arrow and hit his target without seeing his arrow hit the target. Because he was firing at a memory, so he recognized hitting the person without doing it. Using the same way of the past archetypal gestures, we did a movement and then simply changed how we felt according to the movement. Taking away that movement, we could still apply how we feel. So using both of these methods, an actor can easily, in rehearsal, say they want to express that they're super compassionate towards somebody and wants to uplift them in a loving way. They would, in rehearsal and backstage, both times, because repeating is very necessary to be very accurate at something, they would simply go. And so whenever they went onto stage, they could present that feeling while doing a bunch of dialogue so that the audience can understand how they were feeling. Controversially, if I wanted to punch somebody in a play, right? They would do the same thing. Pushing, imagining punching them literally in the face, using both of those to apply to the emotion, which is the inner body, taking that, getting rid of the visual things, keeping that inner body, can go on stage, and while doing their job, the audience can recognize that the person wants to punch somebody. Fun fact. So, let's try it. When an actor does not move, but you know what they are feeling, they are using their inner body. This is applicable because everybody can use this. Everybody has a physical body, and everybody has an imagination. You use this without knowing that you're using it because you are passionate and you don't really dissect it all the way. But that's what this presentation is for. I'm dissecting it for you so everyone understands that you are in control of your inner body, which is a combination I'll touch on again is your physical and your imagination. So, can everybody say this line? We all know this? To be or not to be. Lovely. That was a very neutral saying. How about we say it again? And use your diaphragm, say it forcefully, not in a specific way, but you are saying it.
To be or not to be.
Lovely. Wonderful. I'm glad you all know this line. So, using what we have learned and I have explained thus far, we can use this dialogue in many, many, almost infinite ways. So, imagine, does somebody have an emotion they would like to express? Any raise of hands? No? Yeah.
Confused.
Confused. Lovely. So can I have an imaginative action that you could do, and it can be a facial reaction, right? Be confused. Represent that on your face, on your body. Go ahead. Be confused. I'm confused. Looking at you people. All right, now take away that. Now, imagine just being confused and try not to show it on your face. Did you see how difficult it was to try to separate the mind and the body? Because they are coexisting. We do have an inner body that does like to do this. So applying both of those things, put that expression on your face, confusion, and say to be or not to be.
To be or not to be.
Cool. Now imagine saying that phrase to a specific person. Lovely. Now, whenever you're on stage and you're confused, but you still have to say your line, and you're in a love scene, which he's not, don't get me wrong. You have to express how you need to feel. So, without intentionally, per se, being confused as much as we used our voice to inflate that we were confused, say to be or not to be, in your own time, using your imagination of confusion and your face, but without showing either of them. Go. It's kind of quiet and stuff because it's confusion. But let's try another one. How about excitement? Everybody knows what excitement is, right? So you can physicalize that. Is there any way, as you are sitting, that you can show excitement? You move your shoulders, find your muscles, they're doing stuff, right? Cool. Now get rid of that. Good job, good job. I commend you. I'm not telling you what to do or anything. So that was the physical, and then we did it. Keeping that slightly separate, let's find words that make us have the exact same emotion. Excitement. I think of popcorn. Because popcorn is very exciting and it kind of just bursts with energy. So in your head, imagine popcorn. Does that kind of make you excited in a little bit? The popping sensation, smelling the butter. Now, using both of those things, I want you to say to be or not to be, exceedingly excited, focusing on physical. We'll go with that first. So go ahead.
To be or not to be.
And again.
To be or not to be.
Lovely. You're all slightly jittery. I see the movement in the crowd. Now, we'll take away that the physicality and think of a word, and you cannot use popcorn. You're allowed to. It's not like I'm not going to know what you're thinking. It's fine. Think of a word that makes you excited, that makes you want to jump up and do something and run away and help a friend. Think of those words. Repeat them in your head. Now say the line.
To be or not to be.
And again.
To be or not to be.
Now that you have that in your mind, you have just repeated it. You've practiced repetition. So now, without putting extra effort into it, just say the line.
To be or not to be.
The point I wanted to make with that is we started off with, what did we start off with? Confusion. I'm confused. I forgot. But what you just said was more excited than confused, because you practiced excitement exceedingly more than you did confusion. And you did it in both applications. What's my next slide? Lovely. This is exactly what I wanted to do. It's like I planned this. Okay. So another concept within this is actors backstage can either just simply project how they are feeling, or they can target a single individual or an object that they are wanting to get their point of feeling across. I'm sure you have seen this within your everyday life when somebody's maybe just happy in general, or they seemed very distracted because they are focused on something. So I want you to take your hand and use what we have just done, and think about closing your hand. Now close your hand. Think about opening your hand and expanding your hand to even bigger than what it is. Now open your hands. Do you feel how it's relieving when your physical body matches what your imagination is doing? Because using this method, just like the archer, it was instinctual and almost supernatural that he turned around and shot the arrow and came back. Because it was as if he already done it. Because his imagination was so vivid. So now that we can do that, I want you to, with your hand, think about pushing it and squeezing it within itself. You're contracting it completely. Using that muscle to almost push it there. Now do it. Now conversely, expand your hand. When you open your hand, your joints will simply like fly out. I want you to open it, and open it, and open it, and then open it. And it jolted open. So do this with your arms. It's okay that you're sitting, but focus on you, and then try to condense yourself. It's okay, inverted. No, imagine expanding. Expanding with your body and your muscles and your bones and your imagination, and reach out. Now, go back and think about contracting. Contract, contract. Now follow it. Okay, relax. Actors use this specifically with what they have just done with their physical and imagination. Because I can look at my water bottle and be angry at it, right? Or I can simply exert aggression. This is what actors do so the audience can better understand what is going on without them physically going in, right? Or saying that I was going to do that. So using this, the everyday application of it is recognizing how you are presenting what you are feeling. We talked about how to feel exactly what we want. Now we are exploring how to use our feeling, because we have choice, to do whatever we want, of targeting or expanding. Once you get yourself to be happy, do you want to share that happiness or do you want to give your happiness? And this is what actors do, and this is what people do. An everyday application. We simply did not recognize it and just let it happen. So with all of these tools, I hope that you can walk away realizing that you can practice physically, and you can practice using your imagination to simply encourage yourself to feel how you want to feel. So practice for the day your attitude for the world. Because whether you're giving this emotion to a specific thing, or you're simply just giving, the world will receive it. Thank you. I saw the red colors. Yay. Questions, I believe. Does any? Yes.
Do you have any, or have you found any research with this imagery visualization being done with actors, like supporting this? Because this is well supported in sports psychology, performance psychology, literature, and the study you referenced as well.
Mm-hmm.
Is this something that we're studying in the theater world to show and provide these kind of things with it? Is this a commonly practiced thing and it's just sort of anecdotally done but not supported in research? Or
it's more so a common thing.
yeah.
The archetypal gestures are something that Chekhov does, and if you take a physical acting class, you will study Chekhov for about 2.5 weeks. The thing about the inner body is it's something that is simply expressed and practiced within multiple different ways, which is why I use the different mediums to express it. Within acting, it's something we just do, and so I think it's just a natural practice, so I wanted to share it.
So it's not intentionally taught, you think people just do this on their own?
It can be intentionally taught, but just as I had a bunch of points to get to it,
Yeah.
there's a lot of different ways to teach it.
Okay.
So there's not a specific inner body lesson.
Okay.
Yes. Other questions? Any questions that were brought up because of that question? Any questions on my drawing?
No.
We'll take my drawing.
Anything at all. Please express yourself because you're a human. We're all humans. You can try. Nothing?
Thank you.
Think?
That's one.
Comments are great, yes.
Can you touch a little on how breathing affects and interacts with this inner body emotion work?
Yes. So, as most people can recognize, if you hold your breath, you start to feel restricted. And breathing out is a kind of relieving sense. In a lot of sports, whenever you're about to shoot a basketball or kick a goal, they tell you to breathe out, because that is when you are not restricting in the least, and you simply do what your imagination does. So the effect of breathing on this kind of technique can give you more intention to focus on what you are wanting to do. Just with the pulling, if I held my breath through the entire thing, I would feel not okay. If I tried to breathe out through the entire thing, I would feel exceedingly more accomplished. So using your breath will influence the specific kind of emotion that you are trying to entice yourself with. Does that answer your question? Question?
I'm wondering if this would be a good exercise for artists as well, painters, because getting your emotion onto the canvas can sometimes be difficult, unless something's emotionally like distracting you, just painting emotionally. So I'm wondering if what you did here, this exercise could be used in that direction.
This exercise can easily be used for artists that are trying to put their emotions onto the page. Because what this mainly focuses on is how you can be connected to your inner body, the other body you lead. The main lesson that you can take away from this is that you're validated. If you make yourself feel something, you did that. You chose how to feel that way, and you are expressing it how you feel like expressing it. So how this can be applied to art is a lot of times people feel constricted because what they feel, they think is not appropriate. So if you use this kind of exercise and simply acknowledge whatever you are feeling, you can use many words to describe a feeling. Accepting that you feel that way will let you portray it easier. Same thing with music. If you are trying to do something, right, sing a specific way, and then you get yourself stuck because you're trying to do it a specific way. So if you are trying to portray an emotion in general, and you stop yourself because you think that it's not validated, doing these exercises will make you put yourself in validation, so then you can express fully. Did that answer your question?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.